Okay, so I hope I'm live. I hope you can hear me. We tried a while ago and we didn't have any connection, so I'm not sure what that's all about, but we're going to try again. I am Dr. Polly Heil-Mealey, and this is Lunch and Learn on Friday, and it is Friday the 15th. I wasn't here last week because it was Grandparents' Day at my baby's school, so that's why I wasn't here. Now today, I want to talk to you about a few things as pertains to glyphosate. Now, we've had some issues with glyphosate. We've talked about glyphosate in the past. Glyphosate is a pesticide residue, and it is in all of our grains. Now, we've been talking about wheat, we've been talking about diet, we've been talking about the paleo diet, we've been talking about vegan diets, vegetarian diets, and all that kind of stuff. So what I want to talk to you today is about gluten and gluten intolerance. Now, I have a paper here. It is a research paper. This is not Dr. Google. This is from the MIT. Okay, so that's a really good research facility. And it is from the Department of Interdisciplinary Toxicology. So toxicology means that they're trying to find poisons and that kind of thing. So what the article says is that glyphosate, pathway to modern disease, celiac, sprue, and gluten intolerance. So this is like a 10-page report. Okay, it's quite a few pages here. There's some graphics that I'm going to be posting so you can look at that. So I've got a lot of things going on here. Of course, it is a live clinic. We've got people coming and going, so just bear with us if that happens. But I want to just really give you a snippet here, and then we're going to post some graphs so you can look at the graphs. Now, we've talked about gluten intolerance. We've talked about going free. We've talked about Thrive in 63, which is our protocol that we work with for gluten intolerant people or people that have food allergies, passive leaky gut, and that kind of thing. So we're having really, really good results with that. So if you suffer from bloating, constipation, gas, all that kind of stuff when you eat, then this is a really good protocol for you to be on. Now, on this protocol, there is an avoid list, and the avoid list is all of the grains, okay? We want to get rid of all of the grains. So what we're talking about here is your rye, your wheat, your oats, your corn, your barley, and your rice. Now, I know a lot of people think that brown rice is good and that kind of thing, and I'm not going to argue with you on the point. I'm just going to give you some information, and we're going to post some graphics, and you'll be able to make the best decision for you, okay? So that's kind of where we are. So I'm going to read just a few little snippets, and then we'll move forward. It says, today, about 50% of the world has problems with gluten. Now, gluten has been around forever. Wheat is a crop. It's a biblical crop. It's a crop that, remember the Bible says, give us this day our daily bread, right? What we're supposed to eat. But a lot of people are having problems with the wheat. Now, the wheat has been genetically modified. I'm not sure exactly the year that it started being genetically modified, but it has been. And what we see is that since 1973, we've had glyphosate show up in our foods. Now, Angie's on. Hi, Angie. Thanks for watching. Glyphosate is a pesticide. Now, it used to be protected. Only one company could use it, but now the patent has expired. It expired in 2000. 9 different commercial companies make this particular pesticide, herbicide. Okay, herbicide, I'm being corrected. Herbicide, yes, it's an herbicide. And what it does is it goes into the plant. They put it into the plant. It makes the insect, right? When the insect eats the plant, the insect gets sick, the stomach explodes, the insect dies, therefore it protects the plant. So when we eat the plant that has the glyphosate in it, then we get that poison within us as well. And this is what the bad thing is. So Over 2 million pounds is used all over the world every year. Now, this is dated 2014. This particular thing that I'm looking at is dated 2014. The toxicology report is dated 2013. So things have even gotten a little bit different from now, because there's many countries in Europe that have banned it, maybe because of this particular report. But I know India has banned it. Europe, in the most part, has banned it. I think a lot of countries in South America have banned it. So it's not 50% of the world right now, but this was the statistics in 2013, okay? So this is part of the problem. Now, no one has ever heard of this word. I'm going to spell it for you. It's Shikimate. And I think you pronounce it shikimate. All right. So the glyphosate blocks this pathway in certain plants and bacteria. Now, Monsanto knew that. The scientists knew that. But what they didn't tell you is that bacteria in the human gut all have this shikimate pathway, right? This is huge. Without this bacteria, people become very ill, malnourished. They develop antibodies to their own organs. They become mentally depressed. They become full of yeast and other pathogenic bacteria, and they are mineral deficient. Now, this is one thing that we see in the clinic all the time, is mineral deficiencies. And so this particular herbicide blocks that pathway. We also have that pathway. So what does that mean for our food supplies? Well, that means that when we eat these crops, and it's almost 100% of the wheat, and it's almost 100% of the sugar cane, okay? So this is why we harp and harp and harp on buy organic. Yes, it's sometimes hard to find, and yes, it's more expensive. But if you're having gluten issues, if you're having wheat issues, if you're having food allergy issues, then you are being poisoned by this chemical, glyphosate, okay? So we've got some graphics up there, right, Trish? Do we have graphics already? We're trying to get graphics. We're trying to do that, okay? So I'm going to show you one. This particular graphic is a graphic of how much glyphosate is on the wheat. So over here, when they first started, was in the year 1990 when they started tracking it. And then over here is 2010. So you can see that the peak is in 2009. So about 2009, people started finding out that there was something wrong with it, and so they stopped. Some countries stopped producing or spraying this herbicide on their wheat. So we see that the trend is coming down. But this is almost 100% of the wheat production, so that's important. Over here, let me find another graphic for you here. This graphic is the rise in incidences of hospitalization due to stomach issues. So again, we can see in 1990, very, very little, but then it peaks in 2009 at over 18,000 cases. So from almost zero in 1990 to 18,000 cases in 2009, 2010. That's a huge, huge increase on that. So this is intestinal infections due to glyphosate poisoning. Okay, and again, this is not Dr. Google. This is a research paper from MIT. So this is important. It's up.
It's not on Facebook Live, but it's up on the site.
Okay, it's on the site. It's not, you can post on this because it's not, okay. We're live. So it's on our site, okay. We'll tag it. We'll tag it to the video when we get through. Apparently, you can't post simultaneously. Here's another graphic here, and this is thyroid cancer incidences. Right? This is huge. Remember, we tell you that almost 80% of women have undiagnosed thyroid issues. So in 1975. There were maybe, let's see, how many cases here? Okay, it's thyroid cancer increase plotted against glyphosate applied to U.S. corn and soy crops. So in 1975, there were very, very little here, but it peaks in 2009. So that is incidents per 100,000 people, right? That's a lot. That's a huge increase. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to just be victims here. We've got another, no, we don't have another. Do we have another slide? Oh, we do. We've got other slides here. Number of hospitalizations due to kidney injury and kidney failure. Now, we see kidney injuries and kidney renal dysfunction all the time here in the clinic. So it starts from 1990, which was very, very, very rare, and then up to 2009 based on a number of hospitalizations for acute kidney infection. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge there. We're going to post these so you have these. And then death rate. Death rate due to end-stage renal disease. Look at that. Look at that increase there. So what are we thinking? What are we thinking about this? Let me just tell you some deficits that we have when we have glyphosate in our diet. So number one, the gut bacteria doesn't have that pathway open that we need. So because we don't have that pathway, or this glyphosate blocks that pathway, we're not getting the nutrients that we need. So we have enzyme impairment and sulfate depletion. You need to have sulfur in your body in order to make things work properly, okay? So the glyphosate has been shown to depress or suppress the CYP enzymes, okay? The study on rats demonstrated that glyphosate decreased the levels of the CYP enzymes and other activities in the liver and the intestinal activity. So these enzymes are essential for detoxification. So we need to be able to look at that. Also, it caused renal disease, celiac disease, and reproductive issues. The Institute for Responsible Technology tells us that within 3 generations, when they have fed glyphosate residue on the crops to animals, that within 3 generations, the animals were unable to reproduce. Now, as humans, I'm just telling you, we're having more and more incidents of couples coming in seeking fertility treatments because they're not able to conceive. So I wonder, what is the cause and effect of this? There has not been a human study as far as I know, but we're researching this. And if it happens in animals, you can bet it's going to happen in humans as well. Now, cobalamin, right? Cobalamin is a nutrient that we need, and it helps to process the folate, which is a nutritional essence, for lack of a better word, that we need. So with the glyphosate in there, right, the lactobacillus and the bifidophilus, which is a good bacteria in our stomach, with the glyphosate residue, these bacteria do not have the capability to synthesize cobalamin. You need cobalamin, right? It's important. Anemia and iron insufficiency as well is one of the most common manifestations of celiac disease. We have people that come in all the time that they are labeled anemic by their doctors. I wonder why. Molybdenum deficiency. Now, molybdenum deficiency is considered, it's rare that there's a deficiency in that, but people with, the people that eat these diets that have the glyphosate in there, all the grain, they have that molybdenum deficiency. Also, selenium is reduced. You need selenium for your thyroid to function. Indole is a byproduct, okay? And it is very highly associated with kidney disease. So we need to know about that. Nutritional deficits all around the board: vitamin B6, vitamin B12, vitamins D, vitamins K. All of these things are what you're going to find when you've got the glyphosate. So it's very, very important. Cancer. The incidence of cancer has increased. You saw the chart on thyroid cancer, but this also says that chronic inflammation that occurs with celiac disease or gluten intolerance, right, is a major source for oxidative stress and is estimated to account for 1/3 of all cancers. So this is really, really important. We'll put a link for this whole report. Like I say, it's a scientific report. It's a scholarly report. It's not something that we want to stop you from reading. If you're interested in it, then we'll definitely put the link up for you. But what you want to know is that glyphosate is a killer. Now, we're going to move on to some other news with glyphosate, and that is that the National Vaccine Information Center, now you can Google that at nvic.org. Again, a very reputable website. And again, this is an MIT research paper, and what they show is that they tested 14 vaccines. I don't have that paper in front of me to tell you which ones they were, but they tested 14 vaccines, and of all the 14 vaccines listed or tested, 100% of the vaccines were contaminated with glyphosate. Now, how does that happen? And why are we putting glyphosate transdermally under the skin? I guess that's not transdermally, is it? I can't remember exactly the right medical term for that, but they're putting it under the skin. It's bypassing all of your pathways, right, of protection, your immune pathways, and they're putting that glyphosate right in the bloodstream. So this is a neurotoxin, and there are a lot of things in there that you don't want to have. So 14 out of 14 vaccines tested positive for glyphosate. This is a key thing. So we don't want you doing that, okay? We just want you to be aware. Now, it is back to school time. It is in our neck of the woods. We've just had Hurricane Harvey and that kind of thing. I know all of the pharmacies and whatnot are pushing the tetanus shot, and they want you to have the flea shot and the pneumonia shot and that kind of thing. To be sure, our environment is very, very toxic right now. There's mold. We've done some videos on mold. We did it on our radio program. We're going to do an essential oil class on that in a couple of weeks. So the environment is very, very toxic. So you may not be able to avoid getting some of these vaccines. But what I want to talk to you about particularly is the flu vaccine. Okay, the MIT again, right, is saying that vitamin D3 is more effective in preventing the flu than the flu shot. So that's something that scholarly research is showing. In our practice, when you bring your blood work in, we're looking at your blood work and we're saying that most people are very, very deficient in the vitamin D. Now, on your blood work, when you go to the doctor and you get your blood work, they're going to say on the reference range that 30 to 100 nanograms per deciliter is within range. Holistic people say 60 to 100 milligrams per deciliter is the preferred range. So if you go to the doctor and your blood work is at 30 or 40 or 50, that's still not optimal as far as we are concerned. So what do you do if you don't want to get the flu shot, but you don't want to get the flu? Well, a couple of things you need to remember. The flu shot does not prevent you from getting the flu. The flu shot shortens the duration of the flu by 24 hours. So what you need to do is you need to determine if the risk-benefit ratio is worth it. So are you going to get the flu? Possibly. If you get the flu and you have the flu shot, you're going to have the flu 24 hours less than someone who didn't get the flu shot. So what about alternatives? Well, we've got some alternatives here. We've got this vitamin D. It is a spray. You spray it right inside the cheek. It's 1,000 international units per spray. You need, a healthy human needs 9,000 international units to keep your immune system strong. So it's been said, and I don't have the research in front of me, but it's been said that if your vitamin D level is at 60 nanograms per deciliter or higher, you cannot get the flu, you cannot be depressed, and you cannot get cancer. So that's what I'm aiming for, and that's what we aim for here in the clinic. And so what you need to know too is those mega doses of vitamin D3 that you get from the pharmacy, they get chewed up in digestion, and then they get chewed up through the liver, and then they get chewed up also in the kidney. So we need to know that you want to have the sublingual, or it's a liposome where you don't have to, you can do it sublingual, but just do it inside the mucous membrane in your cheek and you're good on that. We have another little herb formulation here. This is very good if you want to protect yourself during flu season. It's called Immune AV Antiviral. Now, this is a true testimonial because I took this week, and I always like to do mega doses, certainly on myself, because I'm just that kind of girl. It says on the bottle, and I did not read the bottle, it says on the bottle to take 1 capsule daily, okay, with food. Well, this girl did not take 1. I took 2, and I did not take it with food. I took it on a day that I fasted, and guess what? It stayed in my tummy about 5 minutes and it came back up. So take it with food. We don't want you to waste it, okay? So that's important. And then if you've got children that can take pills and that kind of thing, or if you're an adult too, this is very, very good, and we've talked about this before. This is our homeoprophylaxis, and I know it's backwards because we're on Facebook Live, but we'll post this again. And we've got 3 remedies here. And these 3 bottles will last your whole family probably 2 flu seasons. So it's very, very economical. You've got 3. You've got vaccine tox, drainage, and flu. You take 5 drops for 15 days out of the month. And so the calendar, we've got the calendar from day 1 to day 15. You take the 5 drops. On day 5, you take the 3rd component, so you take 15 drops that day instead of 10 drops on the other day, and then the rest of the month you do nothing. Then the next month for 15 days you do it again. You do that throughout the whole flu season. Now the good thing about this is that there's no glyphosate in there, and there's no mercury, there's no thimerosal, there's no E. coli bacteria, there's no human fetal cells, there's no simian 40 virus, there's none of those things that you're going to have when you get vaccines. So that's my story, and we want you to have a great weekend. It should be nice. The weather should be nice. If you have any kind of a question, if you have any kind of a comment, feel free to go ahead and post it here. And we've got these products in the clinic. You don't have to have a prescription. You don't have to have an evaluation. Just call the clinic and tell them that you want to be on the natural flu preventative, and we've got you covered. So this is why I love my job. You guys have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks.